$2,000 cash, one goal: build the best darn PC using only the newest parts on the used market. Simple. Little did I know it would take up to 2 months across 4 different cities to acquire all the parts, and it didn't quite turn out how I expected. This is how it played out. I thought the hardest part of this task would be acquiring a 4000 series GPU, so I moved quickly. I checked Kijiji, then Facebook Marketplace. I saw several 4070s listed, asking retail price. And since this was the cheapest tier 4000 series GPU at the time, while still being a major upgrade to its 3000 series counterpart, I decided to go for an RTX 4070. I found one for $750 and was able to talk the seller down to $700. The problem was, it was in Toronto. So I had to hitch a 3-hour ride there and crash at a friend's house. The next morning I met them in the Loblaws parking lot, and there was brand spanking new. Only 1300 left remaining. Finding RAM was easy. Finding good DDR5 memory was another thing. There were 2 Kingston Fury dual sticks of 5200 DDR5 32GB memory with a CAS latency of 40 available on Facebook. One person selling it for $140, the other $110. In a rush, I contacted both, but I accidentally lowballed one guy for $50, and feeling terrible, I just went with the other for $90 before the other guy could chew me out for my terrible offer. I am so sorry. Now, I know what you are thinking. That RAM sucks. And you're right. Good job. There wasn't anything better on the secondhand market for DDR5 memory. This was most likely due to the fact people were upgrading their memory to something better. If there was something good, the sellers were just asking for way too much. Again, the only problem was it was in another city, and again, I had to hitch a ride from a friend because I'm too poor to afford a car. You're probably starting to see a pattern here. On the way there though, I forgot to confirm the GPS location for directions and we missed the exit. We then got lost in what looked like a liminal neighborhood where all the houses looked eerily the same. There was no one to be seen for what felt like half an hour, and we took a million turns in a residential layout that I'm certain was completely random. Unfortunately, I forgot to take any pictures. Somehow though, we arrived early and someone was surprisingly there to receive me. That left me with $1,210 left. While scrolling through Facebook Marketplace, I found a brand new AMD Ryzen 5 7600X processor, but the buyer was asking $400. The processor had been out for a while and I knew how stores usually work. The CPU was listed around $310 in stores because of the sale, which was ending in a couple of days. But I knew even if the sale ended, another store may still have the sale, or most likely they would extend it, though this was no guarantee, just what I've witnessed before. So, wanting to save on tax and wanting to keep to the goal, I offered to pay $300 or it wouldn't be worth it. The seller said the least they could do was $375, but I countered with $310 and explained the situation. He wanted $325 and to wait, probably wanting to see if the CPU would go back to the original retail price in store. We both decided to roll the die. If the CPU went back up in price, I would be out of luck trying to find a CPU and my journey would have ended much more early than I anticipated. But if the sale was extended, it would mean I would get the price I was asking. The sale was extended. So after the extension of the sale day, he got back to me to see if I was still interested for $310. The CPU was also located in the same city I lived in, so transportation was simple this time around. Just $900 left. Now I just needed something powerful enough to power the CPU and the GPU. The power supply was a simple matter because it was one of the most plentiful on the secondhand used market. I struck gold and found a 1000 watt 80 plus gold EVGA GQ power supply for only $120. Asked if the seller was able to do 100, which he was, but it was difficult getting a time to meet up, and eventually the seller got cold feet and sold it to his brother, which is the second time that's happened to me, which is not an unlikely scenario, but something tells me it won't be the last time that happens. But just when I saw I had just fumbled a great power supply, I struck gold again, seeing a listing for a brand new Corsair RM850X power supply. The seller listed it for $125, asked if he could do $75. He countered with $100. I asked if he could meet me at $90. He did. Again, it was in another city, so I hitched a ride from a friend. 2 hours later, and I had it in my hands. $810 left. Getting the case was sort of difficult. The person I was building the PC for had only a few towers he was interested in, and finding any of the cases online was a painstaking process. But after a ton of hours searching, I found one he was interested in for $75. Asked if the seller could do 40. He first countered 55, then talked himself down to 50. It was in the same city I lived in, so I met up with the seller. The case was obviously not brand new, but it was in terrific condition, with barely any noticeable scuffs, besides maybe 2 that I was able to rub off with some elbow grease. The case came with bonus LED light strips and 3 fans, but no standoffs or screws for the motherboard. So if you're building your first PC and going with a used case to save some money, just make sure the case you're buying has all the accessories that will be needed. That left me with $760 left. The buyer requested the LT720 Deep Cool Liquid Cooler for the Lux. At the time it was $203.39 with tax. There was a similar cooler on the used market, except it was the black dual fan model, going for $100, but they liked the white one, and I have to admit the cooler does look cool. And before you say anything, he wanted the 3 fan model, though I would personally advise going for a tower cooler. It's cheaper and low maintenance, but if you had to go for liquid cooled, a dual fan radiator is more than enough. Furthermore, I thought there was enough clearance at the top, but if I remember correctly, it was a really tight fit. The power supply shroud was also too large, and so my only option left was to place the intake and outtake where they are. It still runs fine. No noise at all, with great temps. $556.61 left. After weeks of searching and not wanting to keep the person waiting, I went in store to see what I could do for a motherboard and SSD. It was just a window shop, but I knew it was time to wrap it up. And the salesman was slick. He could sell a blank canvas with a banana taped to it and pass it as art. The man was really passionate about his job. So I purchased the WD Black SN770 1TB Gen 4 NVMe SSD for $79.09 and the MSI Pro X670-P Wi-Fi for $288.14, leaving me with $230.06 with $180.77 going towards the Windows 11 key, with the final change left over of $8.61 left. The reason being Gen 5 drives are still too expensive and the WD Black is already quite fast, as well as finding Gen 5 SSDs on the used market was not possible while staying in budget. And Gen 4 SSD sellers I had a hard time reaching both in response and distance. Sure, I could have saved some money on some other parts to get a Gen 5 drive, but the overall performance of the build would have suffered. I could have gone for the B650 motherboard, but for a little more I could get a spot for a future Gen 5 M.2 SSD, better audio, and plenty of expansion slots. Only downside I had with this board was that all the PCIe 16 slots were Gen 4, which isn't a huge deal. AM5 motherboards on the used market were just way too expensive, all of them being more of the higher end models like the Asus Strix motherboards, being, funnily enough, the most common on the used market at the time of this challenge. So what was the results of the challenge? I was able to keep it within the budget with the total coming to $1,991.39, but I was unable to get all the parts on the used market. I was able to at least save the individual $435.29 after taxes using the pricing of the parts shown on PC Part Picker on October 15th, which to some may seem great, but not anything groundbreaking. I wasn't able to get the Gen 5 SSD and had to buy 3 of the parts from stores, but not only was I able to get the rest on the secondhand market, but 3 of the parts were brand new sealed, with the RAM and tower the only one seeing any actual use. So besides the 2 parts, the PC is basically brand new. Substituting some of the parts for others like the cooler for a tower would have definitely chopped $100 off the total cost though. Is this process viable for the average person? Absolutely not. With all the time spent traveling to other cities and difficulties finding all the parts, unless you're willing to wait months and travel far outside your hometown, this is most likely not for you. But it was a fun build to do. Being also able to work with parts like the Deep Cool Liquid Cooler was also cool to do. In my defense, getting all the parts on the used market is possible, but would require time, patience, and reliable transportation, or a great friend willing to haul your butt everywhere. And by the time you do get all the parts, they'll probably be obsolete. Moral of the story? Beware of slick salesmen, or don't count your eggs until your rooster hatches. I don't know. This was a stressful challenge to be completely honest, but at least it should save someone else crazy enough from attempting it. But if someone does, I'm sure they could probably do a better job in being more aggressive in negotiations with sellers, and be more willing to take the chance with certain parts. Thank you for watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you would like to see more of this sort of content, and would like to stay in the tech of things.